Think about your phone for a second, or your laptop, or even the servers that run the internet. Have you ever really thought about the journey they take to get to you? It's this massive global path, right? With a whole bunch of hands touching it along the way. But what if just one of those hands didn't have the best intentions? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the super shadowy world of hardware supply chain attack.
Yeah, we all know the drill. You click buy on something, and this incredible, almost magical dance of logistics kicks off. I mean, it's flying across oceans, sitting in warehouses, getting loaded onto trucks, and the whole time we just trust it. We trust the system to get our shiny new tech to us safe and sound. But here's a pretty chilling thought, right? We pour so much time, so much money and effort into securing our networks, our software, building digital walls. But what if the danger was already inside the box before we even opened it? The attack might have happened way before we ever plugged the thing in.
And that's the crazy reality we're getting into today. You see, the really sophisticated attackers, they're not just trying to bash through your firewall from the outside anymore. Oh no, they're trying to get inside the hardware itself, to become a trusted part of your system before you even have a clue they're there.
Okay, so let's really break down what this invisible threat is. We're not talking about the usual suspects, the viruses or the sketchy phishing emails that we're all trained to look out for. This is something much deeper. We're talking about the very foundation of our technology being compromised, right from the get-go.
And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction movie plot. A former CISO from the CIA, Robert Bigman, put it plainly. Intelligence agencies all over the world are actively thinking about this stuff every single day. And why? Because the payoff is huge. If you can pull off a hardware attack, you get a level of access and control that is just on another level. It's the ultimate backdoor. So at its heart, a hardware supply chain attack is all about exploiting the trust we have in, well, everyone. The vendors, the manufacturers, the shipping companies. Think about it. At any point in that long journey, from the moment it's built in the factory to sitting in a shipping container to the truck that brings it to your door, that device is vulnerable. It can be messed with. An attacker just has to find the one weak link in that whole chain.
So why do people call this the holy grail of hacking? Well, it's because it is so hard to detect with our normal security tools. Your antivirus, your firewall, all that software is looking for sketchy activity on the network. But these hardware implants, they operate at the physical level, what we call layer 1. It's like they're in the basement while all your security guards are patrolling the floors above. They are literally invisible to the very systems we built to protect ourselves.
Okay, so how in the world do they actually pull this off? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the anatomy of one of these attacks. And I gotta tell you, the methods they use are pretty brilliant and also pretty terrifying. We're gonna break it down into 4 main techniques that attackers are using to get inside our hardware. We've got manipulation attacks, side channel attacks, wireless implants, and of course, the infamous spy chips. All right, first up is the manipulation attack. This is the most straightforward, almost old-school method. An attacker literally gets their hands on the device somewhere along its journey. I'm talking intercepting a shipment, carefully opening up a server, poking around on the circuit board to figure it out, adding their own nasty little component, and then packaging it back up so perfectly you'd never know. To you, it looks like it just came from the factory. And this really shows you just how insane the challenge is. The thing they add could be a tiny spy chip. I mean, smaller than a grain of rice, just tucked away on a motherboard with hundreds of other little components. You would never spot it with your own eyes. But that tiny little chip could be powerful enough to secretly change your firewall settings and open up a hidden backdoor for the attacker to waltz right in. Then you've got wireless implants. This is where attackers turn things we use every day into tiny spy tools, basically Trojan horses. Just think about it for a sec. When you plug in a new keyboard or a mouse, your computer just trusts it, right? It doesn't ask questions. Well, attackers take advantage of that trust. They create these rogue devices that look exactly like a normal charging cable or a thumb drive, but are actually tools that give them remote access to your machine. Now, side-channel attacks are on another level of clever. Seriously, instead of trying to brute force a password or break some encryption, attackers just watch. They observe the physical side effects of a computer while it's working. The analogy here is perfect. They're not trying to kick down the front door. They're putting a stethoscope up to the wall to listen to the tumblers in the lock. And the ways they listen are just wild. They can analyze the unique sound your keys make as you type. They can measure these microscopic changes in how much power a chip is using when it's doing something secret, like encrypting data. They can even use thermal imaging to watch the heat patterns on your processor. Every one of these tiny physical clues can actually leak your secrets. It's incredible.
So after hearing all that, you're probably thinking, okay, how on earth do we defend against threats we can't even see? And that is a great question. The good news is, just as the attacks are getting smarter, so are the defenses. So let's talk about how we can actually fight back. For a long time, the main strategy was just physical inspection. Using things like high-powered cameras to compare a circuit board to a perfect golden image, running electrical tests, or even X-raying the device to look for anything weird inside. But here's the problem. Every single one of these methods has a major flaw. They're slow, they're expensive, you can't really do them for every device, and get this, a really clever attacker can even build their implant to detect when it's being scanned and just play dead. So all those old methods just aren't cutting it anymore. It shows us we need a totally new way of thinking. We can't just look at the surface of the hardware. We've got to go deeper. And this is where a really cutting-edge idea comes into play, the cyber-digital twin. And the concept here is, well, it's brilliant. It turns out that every single electronic device, right down to the tiniest component, has its own unique physical signature. It's like a fingerprint, but an electrical one. So by measuring all its little characteristics, the voltages, the currents, the signals, you can create a perfect digital copy, a digital twin, of that device exactly as it should be, in its clean, untampered state. So here's how it actually works. Step 1, you fingerprint every new piece of hardware that comes in the door, creating that unique digital twin for it. Step 2, you use AI machine learning to constantly watch the real, live device and compare it to that perfect digital copy. And step 3 is the magic part. The second there's any difference, any deviation at all, no matter how tiny, the system flags it as a problem. And then, bam, any device that's been messed with gets automatically blocked from the network.
And that's really the key to the whole thing. Just like no two human fingerprints are the same, no two pieces of hardware are electrically identical. They all have their own little quirks. So, if an attacker adds a malicious chip, even a microscopic one, it's guaranteed to change that unique electrical signature, and that change can be measured. And honestly, this is where AI is the real hero of the story. There is no way a person could sit there and look through these mountains of data trying to spot a 1 in a billion anomaly. It's just impossible. But machine learning, it's built for exactly this kind of thing. It can analyze that constant stream of data and spot those super subtle changes that scream, hey, something's not right here. What this all adds up to is ultimate visibility. It's like flipping on a giant spotlight in that dark basement, that physical layer we talked about earlier. It completely eliminates those security blind spots that attackers have been hiding in for years. Suddenly, there's just nowhere left for a malicious implant to hide. And the end game, the real benefit here, is getting back total control. By being able to spot and stop these threats at the most fundamental level, the physical level, organizations can finally truly secure their entire hardware world. We're talking everything from a simple USB stick to the most complex systems running a power plant. And all this leaves us with a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending final thought. In a world where we can create perfect digital copies of physical things, what does original or authentic even mean anymore? This whole battle against invisible threats really proves one thing. True trust can't just be assumed. It has to be constantly verified, right down to the very last volt.